Gonna get my sweets, which one will it be? Got the baker and the candy man crazy for me. Can't quite decide, will it be that one or this? Both of them competing to deliver my bliss. Give me lots.
Hey everybody, and welcome to the October episode of Junk Food News, a place where we look at all the news that happened in the month of October, talking about junk food, candy, and all that kind of stuff. If you want to follow all of our news as it happens, you can go to our Twitter feed @CandyCritic or go to our webpage www.candycritic.org and look up all our other social media where we're always posting links to all the news and cool stuff that we find. First, we're going to talk a little bit about what's happened at Candy Critic recently. Most of all, I guess we can talk generally, Halloween happened. It was an awesome Halloween. We had such a great time. I've been living out of the country for about 6 years, and I had been living in places that don't really celebrate Halloween. So I haven't really had the opportunity to see what's going on in the Halloween scene. A lot of the places I lived would have like little hints of Halloween candy, but never the sort of full-on. And last month, so that would be in September, we went to Disney World, and on our way down, we stopped in a whole bunch of stores in the U.S., and we stopped in a few places in Canada, and I really sort of took in all the Halloween candy world, and I was thinking my goal was to maybe get 5 or 7, maybe like a week's worth of candy to review on Candy Critic and do it like a normal review-a-thon, but I ended up with like 15 or 20 different candies, so I just decided I'm just going to go all out, and I'm just going to try them all out and see how they go. So if you look back at, again, you can go to our Twitter feed and everything, you can see all of our candy reviews for this year. And there was some definitely disappointing stuff, particularly to do with, there was sort of candy themes with look but not flavor. There were some fruit candies that were just labeled Halloween, but then the fruit flavors were like, mango and things like that. So that was a little bit disappointing. But other than that, I had a really great Halloween. We didn't get we got a lot of kids. We ended up running out of candy pretty quick. But, it was kind of cool afterwards. We walked around the neighborhood. We have a great neighborhood for people who decorate. You'll never know which neighborhood it is because I'm never going to tell you guys. Let's get on to the news that happened in October. One of the things I came across early in October was this person made a pie that was themed to Predator and had the Predator's head sort of baked into it and everything like that. It's the creepiest looking pie you've ever seen. I'm sure it tastes great, but it was just like seriously creepy. Speaking of baked treats, there was a great video that came out early in the month of October where a bunch of drones decided to decorate. They had a bunch of drones decorating a cake. It was the weirdest thing ever. It was the messiest cake ever, but it was so much fun to watch. Almost so fun that I wouldn't mind having my next birthday cake decorated by drones, as long as it happened right in front of me. Have you ever wondered why ketchup is so hard to pour out of the bottle? We came across a really interesting article this in October that sort of talked about the physics of why ketchup is so difficult, particularly that last little bit. It's really interesting because ketchup is a really fascinating fluid. It reacts in certain ways differently than a lot of liquids, and it tastes great on a lot of stuff, but it makes it really hard to pour. Nito-Rama had a really cool article about fake food and the science behind it, the history behind it, and it's really fascinating because one of the things I find when I'm reviewing candy is you can have real flavors and you can have fake flavors, and sometimes I actually like the fake flavors more than the real flavors. Sometimes they're about equal. Often they're different, but it's funny how we still associate them with this. One of the things that they mention is the famous food inventor William A. Mitchell, who doesn't really get much credit, but actually designed and helped sort of usher in the fake food revolution. A lot of Americans give credit to Thomas Jefferson for bringing a lot of pretty heavy-duty things to the United States. You can't really go to any history class or to any history museum without sort of seeing his name mentioned a lot. We're going to mention his name here too, because there's some historians that believe if it wasn't for Thomas Jefferson, we wouldn't have macaroni and cheese. And who would want a world without macaroni and cheese? Have you ever heard of people aging eggnog? Apparently, 1 year is supposed to be the perfect time to age eggnog. Most of us would probably think that aging something like that 1 year would not be very healthy and probably not very tasty. The folks at Serious Eats decided to do it for us, and they aged a batch of eggnog 1 year, and the year is up, and they wrote about it. It's a pretty fascinating read. Japan. You're doing it once again. Japan, it looks like they're going to be releasing whiskey-flavored Pocky. Because, what says class better than whiskey and Pocky, right? During the month of October, Taco Bell decided that they would expand their reach a little bit. Go do something more than just giving us tacos. They opened an Airbnb. The thing about the Airbnb in this Taco Bell was that it was in a Taco Bell. Yep. That means you could stay overnight at a Taco Bell. That just sounds like a horrible movie. Another interesting Science-y article. Have you ever wondered how they make decaffeinated coffee? Or decaffeinated anything that really has caffeine in it before? It's an interesting sort of process that they go through to make coffee decaffeinated. To make coffee decaffeinated. That's really hard to say. Coffee decaffeinated. Coffee decaffeinated. It's a really, really hard thing. And most coffee drinkers that I know don't really understand why you would want to decaffeinate coffee anyway. If you're interested in reading more of these articles, sort of a little more in depth, you can go to our Twitter feed at Candy Critic and see the articles. There's links to everything that I'm talking about there, and read them in a little bit more detail. Also, if you follow us at Candy Critic, you'll get all these articles as we find them, and you can read them in your feed every morning. All over the world, there's been this weird trend about creepy clowns. There's been these people that are dressing up as creepy clowns and staying in parks and apparently luring children and in neighborhoods and creeping people out and everything like that. It's sort of become a big deal. It's become a big deal sort of all over the world. I've heard about it in Australia, United States, Canada, England. It's kind of a crazy phenomenon. It's gotten so heavy that during the month of October, McDonald's canceled all of Ronald McDonald's things. So they didn't produce anything with Ronald McDonald's. They didn't do any appearances because they didn't want to get tangled up in this creepy clown thing. So is that McDonald's admitting that Ronald is a creepy clown? Have you ever woken up at 2 in the morning and just craved like a bucket of popcorn or a slice of pizza? And then you think to yourself, nope, I shouldn't be eating that because it's late at night and it'll give me nightmares, or I won't digest it properly. Well, Lifehacker posted an interesting article all about sort of the science and the health behind eating at weird times, and whether or not when we eat really makes a difference to our health. It's pretty fascinating, and might even change your eating schedule because of it. Mental Floss posted a really fascinating article about the history of marshmallows. Personally, I'm actually not a big fan of marshmallows. I've gotten little bit more into them, and I've even sort of developed a bit of a love for those sort of gourmet handmade marshmallows. Somebody bought me some of those once, and it was just like, it was a different experience than those things you get in a bag. But the interesting thing about marshmallows is there's a really, really, really long history behind them. You might even say that some of the earliest sort of treats that people ate they have a little bit of relevance to the marshmallow. I've written about this a few times and posted about it a few times, but did you know that Canada has a maple syrup reserve? But that's not all. In the US, they have a raisin reserve. This means that the government hoards these things in order to help control the prices and control the distribution. It's kind of a weird thing, but apparently a very important economic thing. I'm not sure how the math works on this particular subject. Now, we all heard about the Brexit vote, which is where Britain decided to separate themselves from the EU. One of the things that's come across about this is there's been a shortage of Marmite. For those of you that don't know what Marmite is, it's a black sort of viscous spread that you generally put it on toast. You toast it up and you put it on super thin, and it's very sort of salty. I've had it. I don't really like it. You can also mix it in soups, and it actually isn't bad that way. But there are a lot of people who really love it, and due to some of the problems in the Brexit, it's actually sort of becoming harder and harder to find, and there's been a bit of a shortage of it. What's the most you'd pay for a potato chip? I mean, we'll say 5 potato chips. How much would you pay? What? For like a really good potato chip, $1, $2, $56? Yep. There's a company out there, they'll sell you 5 perfect potato chips for $56. Each one is flavored slightly different with high quality and expensive ingredients. Each one is perfectly shaped and ready for you to eat. I'm not sure if it's worth $56 or not. If this company, which is St. Eric's, would like to send me a batch of these, I would be happy to review them for you. Maybe, my wonderful candy influence might sell a few more. Recently, as many of you know, the Chicago Cubs won the World Series. A lot of people say it's been over 100 years. No, a lot of people don't say it's been over 100 years. It has been over 100 years since the Chicago Cubs have actually won the World Series before. But a lot of people say that the reason they haven't won was because of a curse that was brought on by a lady that was trying to bring a goat into the stadium. Now, you think, oh, well, that's ridiculous, a baseball team losing because of a curse. Well, it's not the only one, and it's even not the weirdest. Apparently, there's a team in Japan, a baseball team in Japan, that says they haven't been able to win one of their championships because they are cursed by the ghost of Colonel Sanders. Yes, the founder of KFC is apparently worried about what a baseball team is doing in Japan. The following news piece might make you a little excited. So if you have heart problems or if you have any kind of conditions that might make you ill due to excitement, you might want to just jump ahead a few seconds and go to our next article. But apparently, the Girl Scouts are releasing cereal based on their cookies. Yes, people, that means you can eat Thin Mint cereal very soon. In kind of sadder news, apparently the art of making beautiful sculptures out of candy, which has been a Japanese tradition for hundreds of years, is really starting to die out. There's fewer and fewer people that are doing this, mainly I guess because it's not a way that people can make a living anymore. People aren't buying it. I've seen some of this art in person and on the internet, and some of it is just beautiful. There's these like realistic looking fish and dragons and birds that they just make out of sugar. And it's a candy tradition that I really think it would be great if it kept on going. Disney World even used to offer a demonstration with a woman there that used to make candies, but they got rid of her. Really, if we can bring this back, that would be great, and maybe even expand it beyond Japan. I think fine art made with sugar should be something that we celebrate a little bit more. So near the end of the month, the Halloween shenanigans started to happen. We had lots of articles about different Halloween treats and dishes you could make to sort of improve your Halloween party or your Halloween night. But one of the great shenanigans that seemed to happen was there was a Burger King restaurant that decided, as a publicity stunt, they would decorate their restaurant as a ghost, but it was the ghost of a McDonald's restaurant. It was pretty epic. They basically put a giant, what looked like a sheet over the entire restaurant. Do you ever play the Oreo twist game? If you don't, the rules are very simple. Two people play this game. Each one of them grabs the cookie part of an Oreo, the same Oreo, and each of them twists, and the winner is the one that ends up with the icing. Assuming you like icing, I guess. But apparently there's a little bit of physics to this where you can actually make it so you win it every single time. So we posted an interesting article from Mental Floss that gave us a few tips and tricks on how to win this game. You know, again, if you want the icing. Mental Floss had a really interesting list of 15 chocolate companies that you have to try. I went through the list, and the only thing I would say is a lot of these companies are American, and there was very few Swiss or Belgium companies in this. And I not that these American companies are bad. I mean, a lot of them I've tried or I've heard of, and they have some really high quality things. The Mast Brothers is one of the more famous ones. But to sort of exclude two of the sort of chocolate capitals of the world. Also, there was a couple of UK companies, but not too many. It's a pretty biased list that way, but it is a great list to think about if you're traveling and you happen to be in any of the areas where they make these chocolates, because a lot of them are really well worth trying. Thanks for listening to another episode of Junk Food News, the news that we had for October 2016. As always, if you want to follow more, read more a bit about these, or keep up with the news as we find it, you can follow us on Twitter @CandyCritic, or you can go to www.candycritic.org, and there's links to all of our other social media where we post the same links on a daily basis. We generally have 2 or 3 links every day. Some days there's a little more news, some days there's a little less. You can also, you can keep up with all of our reviews, what we're reviewing that's new, as well as any new articles on our blog, sort of an all-encompassing thing, as well as keeping up with our podcast, which you can find Junk Food News, Junk Food on the Road, and our video show, Chris, Why Would You Eat That? You can also follow us on YouTube. There's links to that all over the blog and everything like that. And you can follow us on SoundCloud. So if you're listening to this on SoundCloud, hit follow, hit like, leave us notes, drop us anything you need. If you hear about any news, we're always interested in hearing stuff. If you're making news, that's great. If you just want to talk about candy, drop us a line on any of our social media, YouTube, SoundCloud. We always love hearing about what people like to eat. So thanks again for listening, and we'll talk to you next month. Bye.
Gonna get my sweets, which one will it be? Got the baker and the candy man crazy for me. Can't quite decide, will it be that one or this? Both of them competing to deliver my bliss. Give me lots of sugar till I make up my mind. Which sweet daddy makes the sweetest kind? Give me lots of sugar, melt my heart with your charms. Kiss the sugar off my lips as I melt in your arms. The candy man supplying new treats every night. Caramels and macaroons that taste just right. Creamy, dreamy truffles he makes just for me. Sweetness so powerful I can barely see. But the baker's got cream puffs that make me shake. Writes my name in icing on every cake. Delivers sweet jelly roll when work is done. He even lies and tells me I'm his only one. Give me lots of sugar, let it melt in my mouth. Got the best candy from the north or the south. Bake me sweet surprises that take me by storm. Got an oven so hot it will always be warm. Give me lots of sugar cause it gives me a smile. For your sugar I would walk 1,000 miles. You know if I can't get it I'm as blue as can be. Sweet daddy got to give all of your sugar to me. The candy man supplying new treats every night. Caramels and macaroons that taste just right. Creamy, dreamy truffles he makes just for me. Sweetness so powerful I can barely see. But the baker's got cream puffs that make me shake. Writes my name in icing on every cake. Delivers sweet jelly roll when work is done. And tells me I'm his only one. Give me lots of sugar, let it melt in my mouth. Got the best candy from the north or the south. Bake me sweet surprises that take me by storm. Got an oven so hot it will always be warm. Give me lots of sugar cause it gives me a smile. For your sugar I would walk 1,000 miles. You know if I can't get it I'm as blue as can be. Sweet daddy got to give all of your sugar to